Ben left mainstream education at an early age as a result of his negative experiences, but he's channelled his energy to turn the bullying and negativity he received into a positive change campaign for all ethnicities, sharing his experiences with everybody and anybody to help educate the need for equality. In addition, he's training to be a pilot, and he's also doing some work with the BBC at the moment. So welcome, Ben.
My name is Ben Bennett. I'm a 14-year-old English Romani Gypsy. There are over 1.5 million Romani Gypsies and 300,000 Irish travellers in the UK today. Romani Gypsies has been in the UK since 1000 AD and have been at the very fabric of UK life. Gypsies and Travellers suffer the worst racism and have the worst outcomes of any ethnic minority in the UK. I would like to start by thanking you for the opportunity for my community to have its voice heard. At 14 years old, I have experienced prejudice from birth. I have had to fight against racism my whole life, and I continue to do so. I've had to leave school because of racism from staff and pupils, missing out on my legal right to an education because of people's hate. 13 schools, and I've lived in the same place my whole life. I lived in a house in the same village up until 10 years old, then moved only 8 miles away and still live there. So I know it's nothing to do with travelling around. So what has caused my experiences? I think it's purely racist opinions and a profound lack of cultural understanding. Racism against Gypsies and Travellers is everywhere and in every part of our lives. You only have to listen to MPs, read the newspapers, watch TV, or even ask people's opinions. All this is more fueled by the ridiculous phrase that racism against Gypsies and Travellers is the last acceptable form of racism. Well, it's not acceptable, and it never will be. Stand up to anti-Gypsyism, which I and a few other members of my community are doing. I have, through my media profile, reached a combined audience figures of around 171 million people worldwide. I have stood up to racism via TV and radio in 12 different countries. I'm honoured to be the voice of my fellow Gypsies and Travellers and get their voices heard. But where has it got us? Yes, some people are slowly waking up to the fact that racism against Gypsies and Travellers is wrong. But the situation on the ground is still at crisis point, and it is getting worse. Just in Nottinghamshire, where I live, there are over 1,500 Gypsy and Traveller children of school age missing from education. My local authority does nothing to even record the data or change things for the better. 1,500 children missing from education in one local authority. Imagine if they were black or Jewish. All across the UK, 90% of the Gypsy and Traveller children are missing from education. No other ethnic minority would have to suffer in this way. It would be an outrage. Gypsies and Travellers are refused healthcare because of the racist NHS staff, and nothing is being done. I'm sick and tired of telling my story and nothing being done about it. You can all say how terrible it is and how shameful the situation is in England, but if you sit on your hands and do nothing to change it, you are just as bad as those causing it. Just look at what happens when gypsies and travellers try to get somewhere to live. Every local climbs out of that pit of sour racism and voices that hateful dribble. And the local elected politicians spout the same old vile garbage and then refuse planning permission. And that family have no home, no healthcare, and no education. Why? Because we are hated, despised, called vermin, scum. The list is endless. All over England, gypsies and travellers have had enough of hate and prejudice. So I will keep shouting and shouting at the top of my voice until the people get off their hands and put an end to racist England. You, the Equalities and Human Rights Commission, can change things. You know and see what is going on. You know all about the racial disparities my community suffers. So I ask, what are you doing about it? Because where I'm standing, it is getting worse. Let me help you by suggesting a couple of things. Make all local authorities follow the Equalities Act. Make the NHS follow the Equalities Act. Name and shame racist politicians. Uncover and expose racist schools. Start working hard for all ethnicities, not cherry-picking the obvious ones. It is time that Gypsy and Traveller cultural awareness training was made compulsory in the public sector and schools. Please don't think I'm angry about things. I'm not. I'm just disgusted and disappointed in the organisations who are using public money and getting good wages to change things for me and my community and are doing nothing. One last thing. I aim to be Prime Minister one day and will be making sure that all ethnicities are treated equally. And please everybody understand that I will not give up or rest until everybody is equal. One last thing I would like us to do. Could we please have a minute's silence in memory of 14-year-old Johnny Delaney, who was kicked to death for being an Irish traveller in 2003 at Elmsmere Port, Liverpool. Johnny would have been 29 today and had his own family, but racism took that away.